In this video, we will cover the history of Rwanda from its early beginnings until today. Rwanda is a small, landlocked country in East Africa with a population of over 12 million people. Despite its size, Rwanda has a rich history that dates back to the early human settlements in the region. Let's take a journey through time and explore the history of Rwanda. The earliest evidence of human activity in Rwanda can be traced back to the Stone Age. When hunter-gatherer communities lived in the area, these communities were nomadic, and their way of life was centered around following animal herds and gathering wild fruits and plants for sustenance. As time progressed, some of these communities settled down and began practicing agriculture. This marked a significant shift in their lifestyle, as it allowed them to cultivate crops such as bananas, sweet potatoes, and maize, which provided a more reliable source of food. The domestication of animals like cattle also played a crucial role in the development of early Rwandan societies. Cattle became an important source of wealth and status, and their ownership was often associated with power and prestige among the communities. One of the notable early farming settlements in Rwanda was the Kingdom of Gitarama. This kingdom is believed to have been established between the 8th and 12th centuries AD. The Kingdom of Gitarama had a centralized government and a strong military, which enabled them to expand their territory and influence. They developed a system of social hierarchy with the king at the top, followed by the nobles, farmers, and lastly, the laborers. The kingdom was known for its love of cows, which held great cultural significance and were highly valued possessions. As centuries passed, different kingdoms and groups emerged in the region. Each kingdom had its unique traditions and customs, but they all shared a common respect for the land and its natural resources. One of the most powerful kingdoms that thrived in Rwanda was the Kingdom of Rwanda. This kingdom is believed to have been founded in the 14th century, and it grew to become a dominant force in the region. The Kingdom of Rwanda had a well-organized administration and a strong military, which allowed it to maintain control over its vast territory. The kingdom's wealth and prosperity are attributed to its strategic location along trade routes connecting different regions. The kingdom's rulers, known as the Moimi, played a significant role in shaping its history. One of the most notable rulers was Mibambwe, who reigned from approximately 1600 to 1640. During his reign, the kingdom experienced significant expansion and the introduction of new agricultural techniques. Another influential ruler was Uhiv, who came to power in the late 19th century. Uhiv implemented reforms to modernize the kingdom and strengthen its defenses. He reorganized the army and introduced new technologies to improve agricultural productivity. The Kingdom of Rwanda had a complex social structure with a clear division of labor. At the top of the hierarchy were the king and the nobility, followed by the farmers, artisans, and lastly, the laborers. The kingdom's economy was primarily based on agriculture, with crops like bananas, rice, and coffee being major sources of income. The abundance of fertile land allowed for a surplus of food production, which supported a growing population. Trade was also an essential aspect of the kingdom's economy, with merchants exchanging goods such as ivory, gold, and slaves with neighboring kingdoms and European traders. However, the tranquility of the kingdoms was disrupted by the arrival of European powers during the scramble for Africa. In the late 19th century, Rwanda and other parts of Africa were subjected to colonization, which had a profound impact on the continent's history. The partition of Africa among European powers had far-reaching consequences for Rwanda. The country was divided into two colonies, with the northern part becoming part of German East Africa and the southern part falling under Belgian control. This division had long-lasting effects on Rwanda's identity and future conflicts. Under German rule, Rwanda was incorporated into German East Africa, which included present-day Tanzania, Burundi, and Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Germans implemented policies aimed at exploiting Rwanda's resources and its people. Forced labor and high taxes were imposed, and the economy was geared towards producing raw materials for German industries. However, the First World War marked a turning point as the Germans lost control of their colonies in Africa. After the war, Rwanda was placed under the administration of the Belgian colonial empire. The Belgians viewed Rwanda as a part of their personal property and treated it as such. They implemented a system of direct rule, which gave them complete control over the colony's political and economic affairs. The Belgian colonial administration was characterized by a policy of divide and rule, which aimed at maintaining control by exploiting the existing divisions between the Tutsi and Hutu populations. The Belgians favored the Tutsi minority, granting them higher education and positions in the colonial administration. This created resentment among the Hutu majority, who felt marginalized and oppressed. During the Second World War, many Tutsis served in the Belgian colonial army, fighting against the Germans. After the war, they returned home with a new perspective and desire for change. Some Tutsis began to question the legitimacy of the Belgian-backed monarchy and the traditional power structure in Rwanda. In 1959, tensions between the Hutu and Tutsi communities escalated, leading to a revolution that would change the course of Rwandan history. The revolution, known as the Rwandan Revolution, was a culmination of years of discontent and oppression faced by the Hutu majority under the Tutsi monarchy and Belgian colonial rule. The movement was largely spontaneous and decentralized, involving various Hutu political parties and armed groups. The Hutu rebels sought to overthrow the Tutsi monarchy and establish a new government that represented their interests. The revolution began with a series of protests and strikes by Hutu civilians. As the situation grew increasingly volatile, armed Hutu groups launched attacks on Tutsi targets, including homes, businesses, and political offices. The violence escalated rapidly, forcing many Tutsis to flee to neighboring countries, particularly to neighboring Burundi and Uganda. The revolution culminated in the abdication of the Tutsi king, Rwanda History, who went into exile in Uganda. A Hutu leader, Gregoire Kayibanda, was subsequently proclaimed the president of a newly independent Hutu-dominated republic. The revolution had profound implications for Rwanda's future. It marked the end of centuries of Tutsi rule and the beginning of a new era in Rwandan politics. However, the instability and ethnic tensions that characterized the post-colonial period continued to plague the country. In 1962, Rwanda gained full independence from Belgium and became a republic within the Commonwealth. But this newfound independence was overshadowed by a series of coups and countercoups, reflecting the deep-rooted instability and power struggles within the country. The first military coup occurred in 1962, when a group of army officers, led by Major Theologieft Tragic, seized power in a bloodless coup, deposing President Kayibanda. The coup leader, Juvenal Habyarimana, established a new regime that aimed at consolidating power and promoting national unity. However, this unity proved to be short-lived, as ethnic tensions resurfaced, leading to further instability. In 1973, a Tutsi-led rebellion broke out, aiming to overthrow Habyarimana's regime and restore Tutsi rule. The rebels, known as the Rwanda Patriotic Army, or RPA, were mainly composed of Tutsi exiles from neighboring Uganda and Tanzania. The conflict resulted in a civil war that lasted several years, causing significant loss of life and displacement. Eventually, Habyarimana's government reached a peace agreement with the RPA in 1977, ending the civil war. This accord paved the way for a power-sharing agreement, granting the Tutsi minority representation in government and the army. However, despite the efforts to achieve reconciliation, the underlying ethnic tensions remained. Throughout the 1980s, Rwanda experienced a period of relative stability and economic growth. Habyarimana's government implemented policies aimed at promoting national unity and development, but these efforts were overshadowed by a resurgence of ethnic tensions, particularly in the run-up to the 1990s. By the early 1990s, the situation in Rwanda had become increasingly tense, setting the stage for the tragic events that would unfold. On October 1, 1990, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, or RPF, invaded Rwanda from neighboring Uganda, with the stated goal of overthrowing the existing government and establishing a new regime that would represent the interests of the Tutsi minority. The invasion caught the government by surprise and triggered a full-blown civil war. Both sides in the conflict committed atrocities, including massacres and the use of child soldiers. The war quickly escalated and drew in neighboring countries, creating a regional conflict. The international community, including the United Nations, made several attempts to broker peace agreements and end the conflict. However, these efforts were unsuccessful and the fighting continued unabated. Then, in 1994, the world witnessed one of the most horrific genocides in recent history. It started in April, when the Rwandan president, a Hutu, was assassinated, along with the presidents of Burundi and Rwanda. The perpetrators of the assassination remain unidentified. But this event triggered a systematic and rapid campaign of violence against the Tutsi minority and moderate Hutus by Hutu extremists. Over the course of 100 days, an estimated 800,000 people, mostly Tutsis but also moderate Hutus, were brutally murdered. The killings were carried out by Hutu militias known as Interahamwe, meaning those who work together. They used machetes and other crude weapons to carry out the massacres. The international community, including the United Nations and neighboring countries, failed to prevent or adequately respond to the genocide, leaving the world shocked and appalled. Eventually, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, ORRPF, a Tutsi-led rebel group, intervened militarily and stopped the genocide in July 1994. The RPF, which had been fighting a civil war against the Rwandan government since 1990, took control of the country and established a new government. In the aftermath of the genocide, Rwanda faced enormous challenges. Millions of people were killed, entire communities were wiped out, and the country was left devastated. The RPF government, led by Paul Kagame, focused on rebuilding the nation, promoting reconciliation and bringing the perpetrators of the genocide to justice. A series of trials were held, both in Rwanda and at the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda in Tanzania, to prosecute those responsible for the genocide. In the years since the genocide, Rwanda has made remarkable progress in terms of economic growth and stability. The country has implemented policies aimed at attracting foreign investment, promoting tourism, and developing its infrastructure. However, despite the achievements, Rwanda continues to grapple with the legacy of the genocide. The country has made efforts to promote healing and reconciliation, but deep-rooted ethnic tensions and divisions remain. Today, Rwanda is a vibrant country, with a growing economy and a young population. It has become a regional hub for business and technology. But the scars of its past continue to run deep. The country remains cautious about the potential for renewed ethnic violence and works to ensure that the atrocities of the past are never repeated. As we conclude our exploration of Rwandan history, it is important to reflect on the country's journey from ancient kingdoms to the challenges of the post-genocide era. Rwanda's history is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its people who have endured colonialism, civil war, and genocide, yet continue to strive for peace and prosperity. The country's rich cultural heritage, including its vibrant music, art, and literature, reflects the creativity and spirit of its people. Despite the hardships they have faced, Rwanda's natural beauty, from its rolling hills to its lush rainforests, has remained a constant source of inspiration and a foundation for sustainable development. As Rwanda continues to grow and evolve on the global stage, it is crucial for the international community to learn from its history and support its efforts toward healing and reconciliation. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, please make sure you subscribe. By understanding Rwanda's journey, we can work toward creating a more peaceful and inclusive world for all.